Well, people kept asking me, you know, I'd go to autographing sessions and they'd say, well, whatever happened to that kid from The Shining? And I've never been someone who wanted to revisit the past, and particularly really leery about revisiting the scary books, because I feel like a lot of people read those books under the covers with flashlights when they were children themselves, 12, 14 years old, and you'll meet people who'll say, you know, I read that book, The Shining, or I read Salem's Lot, and it really scared the hell out of me. And I'm thinking to myself, well, sure, you were easy. You were, you know, 14 and away from camp and shaking in your shoes. So the fear is that people will come back expecting that kind of scare as grown-ups, and that just never happens. Dr. Sleep actually starts about a year after the Overlook is destroyed at the end of The Shining, and then it moves forward through Dan Torrance's growing up, because he's just a little boy in The Shining. And I was just kind of curious about what would happen to him, because he was a real child of a dysfunctional family.
Is Danny Torrance the most autobiographical character you've created so far?
Well, in some ways, I think his father, Jack Torrance, was as autobiographical as I've ever come to a character, because at the time that I wrote the book, I was drinking a lot. I didn't think of myself as an alcoholic, but drunks never do, you know.
Right.
So I saw him as this sort of heroic character who was battling his demon on his own, the way that strong American men are supposed to.
You've got a big surprise coming to you.
Did you like Kubrick's film of The Shining?
No. Cold. I'm not a cold guy. I mean, I think one of the things that people relate to in my books is there's a warmth, there's a reaching out and saying to the reader, I want you to be a part of this. And with Kubrick's The Shining, I felt that it was very cold, very, well, looking at these people, but they're like ants in an anthill. Aren't they doing interesting things, these little insects?
Woo, we made it. So pretty.
Jack Torrance in the movie seems crazy from the jump.
Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me. And it will then take me time to get back to where I was.
Jack Nicholson, I'd seen all his biker pictures in the 50s and 60s, and I thought he's just channeling the Wild Angels here.
Stay away from me. I just want to go back to my room.
Shelley Duvall as Wendy is really one of the most misogynistic characters ever put on film. She's basically just there to scream and be stupid, and that's not the woman that I wrote about.
Did you talk to Kubrick about it?
I met him on the set. I was over in England on a publicity jaunt, just on that one meeting that I thought that he was a very compulsive man.
Do you think people are harder to scare now than they were back in the 70s?
I think that it's still possible to scare people in a really honorable way if they care about the characters. You can't be afraid, really, for the characters if they're just cardboard cutouts. What I want the audience to do is to fall in love with these people and
right,
really
to care about them.
Yeah, and that creates the suspense that you need. Love creates horror.
So as an artist, as a writer, are you kind of in a comfortable fifth gear? Are you sort of on cruise control creatively, or are you trying to write the best novel you've ever written still?
I'm not phoning it in, ever.
No.
If I do that, I'm going to quit.
Right.
I'm going to just walk away from it and use the word processor to surf YouTube videos.
One of the noticeable things about your career, Stephen, is how the critical fraternity have changed their opinion about you. It used to be quite low, and now you're almost revered. Why is that, do you think?
When I came on the scene, I was a brash young man. I had a lot of resentments against what I saw as literary writers, people who went to Ivy League colleges. They went to the same garden parties. They knew the same people. And I was furious about that. You know, I felt it was elitist. It was. But when the critics got a sniff of my work, which was about blue-collar people who drank in bars, you know, and fought in parking lots and that sort of thing, and there was just this sort of like, well, he's in it for the money.
And that hurt?
It hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. But you know what? You never let him hear you yell. And little by little, the wind changed a little bit. And I think a lot of what happened was a lot of the old-timers, the critics who really greeted my work with disdain, died off. And the people who are critics now, a lot of them, I scared the hell out of them when they were kids, and they kind of respect that.
Stephen King, thank you very much indeed.
You're the man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.